Chapter 19, Sarah Writes Poems, Episode 1. After a celebration meal, again at their favorite raw fish restaurant, the Prescotts and Suzanna returned to the mansion in the sky. Mr. and Mrs. Prescott amused themselves with some music. Patricia played the piano and Ryan watched and listened. Suzanna and Zara went straight to the pool to watch the geckoes and other little creatures either lazing about or looking for something to eat. They had the option of going to a party. Neither Suzanna nor Zara was interested. Okay, what's okay? We'll write poems. Poems? Remember the things we do in English class? Suzanna hit Zara in the arm. So I guess that's a yes. Sure. Zara jumped up out of the pool fast enough for Suzanna to jump from surprise. She followed Zara back to her cabin to sit in the swinging chair on the front deck with Zara and her tablet. Once upon a time there was a little goat. He liked to eat the grass by the castle moat. How sweet. You do the next two. Suzanna leaned into Zara so she could get her arms through Zara's arms and onto the tablet. Much more fun than voice recognition. That could be annoying. In the glade beyond were many a sheep. They were used for wool and for meat. That's sad, Suzanna. For the sheep, not for the humans. Yeah, and I suppose it would be mostly humans and not sheep that read our collection of poems. We're doing a collection? We already have one. Another one would be a collection. Suzanna bit into Zara's arm until Zara flexed her muscles. I've got a couple limericks. I wrote them for school. We could put those in, if you think they're good enough. Well, let's hear them. There was a young maiden from Madrid who wore a pink hat on her head. So pretty was she, but for a small fee, most anyone could take her to bed. Suzanna laughed. I like it. That will be the first in the limerick chapter. Did you write any more? There once was a girl named Sally who lived in a box in the alley. Her mum she did kill, for she left her the will, and she moved to a home in the valley. That one's great. It's in. I think I remember one I wrote. The Red Riding Hood one. You remember that? Susie, a few people remember that. Little Red Riding Hood lived by the lake. She loved a little boy by the name of Jake. He loved a girl too by the name of Sue. She was quite pretty, but her tits were fake. Mr. Claymont, try not to laugh. What's so funny, Mr. Claymont? Suzanna finished her typing. Zara had Suzanna in a hold. She could only escape if Zara released her. Suzanna would not try to escape. Shall I try one more? Yes. There was an old maid from down near the tracks. Hang on. I got it. She worked all day cleaning immigrants' shacks. They worked in the mine most all of the time. The whites looked just like the blacks. That's it for me. I wrote a couple the other day, the other kind of poem. I like this, you reading to me. Zara smiled down at Suzanna, now with her head on her lap, looking up at Zara. He stood alone on a cliff in the wilderness. The air was cold and damp. There was no reason to move from the spot, so he decided to set up camp. He built a shelter of wood and mud. Pine needles he lay on the floor. He killed a moose and removed its skin and hung it to make a door. The meat he buried in the snow. He ate some every day. He pulled up roots and ate them too. Made he a pot from clay. His days he filled with making things. His life was not so sad. One day he was killed by a grizzly bear, and for that he was glad. You're so existential. Zara laughed. I've been searching since the world's begin for the love that I knew was true. I knew it from the ancient sea, the love for me I'd find in you. But evil goblins from the realm of death have poisoned the sacred dove. Toxic and bleak is all the land, and gone forever the hope of love. Maggots feast on the putrid flesh that vultures fear to eat. No ride toward the setting sun, just withering in the scalding heat. That had a spiraling down tendency from heaven to hell. Well noted. How about this one? It was a slow night for Susie Ray. Her last John beat her and didn't pay. Her snatch was itching with little bugs. Salvation was found with many drugs. Had a quarter but no one to call. She'd lost her kid in a shopping mall. You paint a vivid picture. Okay, this is the last one for tonight. Why? That's all she wrote. Okay, we can write more, or you can. I think I'll stick to biology. Abe loved his little sister. He liked to feel her skin. Delicious was her love hole. He also liked her rim. Suzanna laughed so hard she cried. She speculated the probability of having Sarah read her poem at church in the morning. Today's scripture read by Sarah. How would the congregation react? Would they need an explanation? They didn't go to church in the morning. They hadn't planned to. For Sarah, once was enough. They lazed in bed until they sat on the porch and looked at the trees and the things in the trees. There were 2 little birds to be heard, but not seen. They could see a gecko. They moved to the hammock and watched until it rained. Susanna still found it funny. She was also still amazed that the little jungle was quite alive inside a building. Sunday had the audacity to disappear quicker than most any other day. Before anyone knew what they wanted to do, it was Monday morning, and many people were back to work or school.